Greetings all, Ferrari 601 here. Well, no, your eyes do not deceive you. You're looking at the internals of a computer here. Anyway, this is basically an unprecedented look at the guts of what really makes Ferrari 601 work. This, my beloved audience, is the internal arrangement, the somewhat disassembled internal arrangement of a Dell XPS 8300. This, my friends, is the power behind the channel. Yeah, it is a Dell XPS 8300. It is from 2011, and this has been the machine that has produced pretty much every video seen on the channel from the end of 2011, so December 2011, all the way up to the present day. And well, it is from 2011, and it is very long in the tooth. And today, I am very pleased to announce that I have a new computer on order. However, that's not going to come our way for a couple of weeks yet because I have ordered factory direct. I am getting another Dell machine. We'll go into the specs on that thing perhaps in a little while. But here is what the state of the art is for the channel, and it is a cobbled together mess. Let's go into why it is so cobbled together. Well, first of all, you'll notice that I've got the heatsink and processor fan removed. I've got the GPU removed. That would slot into this PCIe mini card slot here. Heatsink above the processor. This is the naked i7 right here. That's the brains of the entire thing. You can see the RAM slots here on the border empty. Normally 12 gigs of RAM goes into that slot. I have errors in video processing in the last couple of days, and perhaps some of you have noticed, perhaps some others of you have not noticed, but I noticed, and that's the most important thing. I'm losing frames in video. If you look carefully, particularly in some of the onboard shots on my videos, there are some frame drops, and it's just a very abrupt, very random, completely unpredictable loss of frames, and sometimes as much as several seconds at a time are lost. And this has happened before where I would just basically have to disassemble the machine, remove the RAM, stick it back into the slots, and then somehow it would work again. However, that's not working this time. And I think finally this machine is crying enough. This computer runs for, I would say, at very least 24 hours a week, strictly doing video capturing, editing, and processing and uploading. So this machine runs a lot. I do turn it off at night. Sometimes rendering does go into the night, uploads go into the night as well. However, it does go into an automatic shutdown protocol once everything is done, and it does get some considerable rest. And of course, when I'm at work, the machine is hardly ever left on, but I can't squeeze much more life out of this computer. It's just time, I think. So what I'm doing today is I'm trying my best to just clean up the boards. I'm checking the connections with all these drives here. I've got 3 hard drives in this computer. I know it only looks like there are 2. There's a third one tucked underneath. It's a cobbled together mess. Originally, this computer was set up on a RAID 0 array, factory direct from Dell, and that crashed within the first year of me having it. And what happened was I had a read-write failure on one of the drives. So one of the hard drives crashed, but on a RAID 0 array, I believe what happens is files are split 50-50 between 2 drives, which means that if one drive crashes, you lose all the contents on the second drive too, and it's all unreadable. So what I had to do there was go in and rebuild the thing myself. The principal hard drive underneath here, just held in together very unsecurely with these 2 screws. This is an old Seagate 60 gig drive taken out of a PlayStation 3, believe it or not. This is what has been storing my OS files and basic system config for about 5 years now. Below this, this is one of those Western Digital drives. 500 gigs this drive is. This is where most of my program files are. Assetto Corsa, iRacing that's on here. And then this drive here is for my video stuff. So all my video programs, the video files themselves, both the raw capture and then the renders that eventually get uploaded, they go here. This is a 1 terabyte Western Digital drive. This drive here runs at 5400 RPM. This one runs at 7200 RPM. So this one is a bit newer. It's the newest piece of hardware in this whole machine in terms of the guts of it. Beyond that, standard motherboard here. I don't know if we can find the actual board spec on here, but it's one of those YGR something boards. It's just a standard board. It's not it's pretty par for the course here. Then your CMOS batteries there, and of course the i7. Additionally, here's your wireless WLAN card, PCIe mini card, and then all of your jacks here for your display, audio, all that kind of stuff. There's your case fan, and all of your power supply, power bus connect, and that's about it here. A whole bunch of capacitors and all that kind of stuff. Pretty easy, but it's getting old, so we've ordered a replacement. However, the other peripherals that I've got removed here, of course, I've got a screwdriver, I've got a can of, what is this, difluoroethane, that compressed gas, just for dusting stuff. This is the graphics card. This is a PNY manufactured, but it's an NVIDIA card. It is a 1050 GTX Ti. So this is the best card that I could possibly squeeze into this machine. And I mean squeeze, it almost doesn't fit inside the case physically, but there's your connect, and it goes into that PCIe mini card slot there on the board. But this has got 4 gigs of graphics RAM by itself. And then here, as you can see, I've got the RAM for the board. And this is the stock memory that came with the machine. It amounts to 12 gigabytes in total. So that's what we're dealing with. The other 2 chips are over there, respectively. This is the data cable for that terabyte drive. So that's the data cable there. And I think part of the problem I've got with my video frame losses is read-write speed to this drive. So I don't know if it's a cable problem. I don't know if it's a socket issue here. You can see I've got the main drive set as drive 0. I've got the programs for drive 1, and I've got the video stuff and all other miscellaneous for drive 2. So I've got capacity for 4 drives in here. One of these would go to a disk drive. However, I removed that long ago from this machine, and it runs as an external if I really need it, but nobody really uses CDs anymore. Aside from that, I've got some thermal paste, and we've obviously already cleaned up the processor chip. There's your thermal paste, and we'll be cleaning that up. I cleaned up the contact surface on the heatsink as best I can with some alcohol wipes, and there's our case fan. But just going to be applying some thermal paste and button it back up, put the RAM back in before I do that, so we just have better access, and then we'll screw everything down. But there you can see, there it is, Intel Core i7. That's a 260B, or no, 2600. Yep, i7 2600. The clock's at 3.4 gigahertz, manufactured in Costa Rica. Really cool. Okay, so I've got the thermal paste reapplied. I've got the heatsink and fan reattached to the processor now. It's all screwed down. I tried my best to clean out the gunk in the heatsink there, but it was not quite possible. So yeah, we've got some airflow restrictions still, but for the most part, everything is still reasonable in here. Some surface dust for the most part, but no big dust bunnies or anything like that anymore. So the last couple of things that we need to do are reinsert the graphics card, as you can see here. The big 1050 Ti card, and again, this thing is really pushing it in terms of the physical space that I have inside the machine, and getting it in and out is certainly not a one-handed operation, although I shall try that right about now. Just gotta get it finagled in here. Gotta get the outer surface there to slot outside, because that's my only display outlet now. Let's see how we got it on this end. That's not terrible. Okay, everything in there. We're lined up. And there we go. That's a satisfactory click into place. Very good. Now we got to get power to this sucker. So we got to find that line. Where did that line go? Yeah, you can tell that I have some technical ability when it comes to computers, but not all that much. There's the line right there. Let's just get that in place like so. And line it up there. Let's see. Depth perception through cameras doesn't work so well. There we go. That's in place. There is one single solitary screw that holds this whole contraption in, and it goes right about there. So that'll head in quite nicely, as you might expect. Might require 2 hands to wiggle it into place, just to line up the holes there. But yep, that's where it goes. Everything on this machine is cannibalized from a part of itself, or a related device like the main hard drive out of the PS3. So this screw came from one of the hard drives that's no longer in the machine, or maybe it was from the disk drive. I can't quite remember. I salvaged as many spare parts as I could from that retrofit, that semi-rebuild that I did years ago. So some of them still work, and most of them, however, do not. So we'll get that screw in. We'll get the graphics card all basically in place and secured. Right, so we've got our graphics card in. It's all secured now. It's not going to move. Got our power in. Got our data from our second drive, our main video run-and drive, down to the board. That is secure and all in place. Yeah, this is really last-ditch effort kind of stuff right here, right now, to try and get this thing to work, because, well, I don't know. I mean, yeah, there is an end in sight for this machine, and it has served me extremely well. And I mean, 3,100 subscribers all earned basically with this machine. So this is really what runs everything. Everything that you see, I would say to the tune of 99%, has some contact with this sort of machine. So most of my content's created exclusively on this machine, and some of it only gets processed with it, but for the most part, this is it. You're seeing the fruits of this wonderful box's labor. And yeah, this hardware was pretty respectable when it was brand new, but I mean, things have just moved on so much now. I mean, the new machine that I've ordered's got a 1060 card from NVIDIA, so right away we're superseding it immediately, even though this one is really pushing the limits of what I can get in here. The processor is going to be an i7. I like Intel. Every computer I own has an Intel chip, and every computer I own still runs. And I have some laptops that are 20 years old, and they've got Intel Pentium chips in them, and they're still running. So I like Intel. Got the RAM back in. I've got all the hard drives hooked up again. The PSU looks good. Case fan, power umbilical back into the board there. So everything is ready to go. Processor fan ready to go. And yeah, just hoping that we didn't short anything with the reapplication of the thermal paste, but I think we should be okay. And yeah, we'll go to fire it up, and if you actually see this video uploaded, that means that I was successful, so fingers crossed. Anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed this little look at what actually makes this channel work, and hopefully, whether with this machine or with its eventual replacement, we shall see you soon. Well, I am fairly certain now that I could isolate the fault to this drive right here. It's a 2 terabyte drive, sorry for misspeaking. However, yeah, it detects, and I can physically see the data on there, but I can't write to the drive, nor can I really view any of the files that are on it. So I'm led to believe that something is up with the electronicals on this drive, thereby rendering it effectively useless. The data is there, the data integrity is there, but when I run a drive check via the very technically advanced speed fan program, I'm getting 200 out of 200 uncorrectable sectors. So I don't know if it's got some sort of electronics fault. It doesn't seem like a crash to me, because the data is still technically readable. I just can't open files, nor can I write to the drive. I haven't tried to delete anything from the drive yet, but I can't write to it, and that's a problem. That's quite problematic, because, well, most of my creative work is on this drive. That's a problem. Am I a victim of yet another hard drive failure? It may well be the case. Doesn't matter, though, because this computer in general is getting replaced, but yeah, that's bad. That's pretty bad, I must say. Anyway, that's our little appendix to this little video here today. So that's what happened, I think. So yeah, I don't know what this means for the near future of the channel, but the long-term future of the channel is bright. You will hear from me again, I promise. I don't know when I'm going to be able to post again. However, Yeah, that's all I've got for you. So, for a little while at least, Ferrari 601 saying, thank you very much. So long. We'll see you again soon. Ish.